The Senate will come to order. Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members and guests, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgardner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, Johnston,
Excused.
Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Jimenez, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Todd, Ulibarri, Woods. Mr. President.
Here, with 34 present, 0 absent, 1 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the reading of the journal for March 16th, 2015 be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is approved. The journal is adopted. Committee reports.
March 16, 2015, Committee on Business, Labor, Technology. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1202 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. March 16, 2015, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1204 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. March 16, 2015, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1244 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation where the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 16, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had in consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends that the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Board of Assessment Appeals for a term expiring July 1st, 2015, Amy J. Williams of Hayden, Colorado, engaged in agricultural, reappointed. March 16, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had in consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Securities Board for terms expiring July 1st, 2017, Herrick Kenley Lidstone of Centennial, Colorado, a member of the public at large, appointed. Mashenka Lundberg of Golden, Colorado, who is licensed by the State Supreme Court to practice law in the state of Colorado and who is conversant in securities law, reappointed. March 16, 2015, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 91 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. March 16, 2015, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 201 be postponed indefinitely.
Senate Services.
March 17, 2015, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 175, 180, 183, 193, and 194. Correctly revised House Bills 1035, 1106, and 1188. Correctly enrolled Senate Joint Resolution 13.
Introduction of resolutions. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 17.
Senate Joint Resolution 17 by Senators Kafalis and Lambert and Representatives Young and Landgraf concerning the designation of March 19, 2015 as Colorado ARC Day.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate lay over Senate Joint Resolution 17 to March 19.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 17 will lay over until March 19th. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for the purpose of a picture announcement.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will proceed reluctantly out of order. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, there's been a great deal of commotion in the chamber due to the presence of various photographs, so it was determined that we should just jump on this early and address the pictures that you have all seen. The group portraits are in the back of the chamber, and very important for you to note that one of these, only one, will be chosen to hang here in the Senate chamber. A second photograph will go in the committee hallway. Our photographer, who is here, is finalizing the then and now combination portrait, which depicts both the 1905 chamber portrait and our recent portrait in a vertical frame. These photos are currently on the press table, and so you can look at them as well. They will be available for purchase. We've talked about this before, and the pricing will be as follows. Important for you to know. The frame 26-inch by 40-inch versions of the 1905 and 2015 photographs are $260 each, and the unframed prints are $45. You can choose between color and black and white for the 2015 photo. The vertical then and now photo will be $290 once it is complete. If you're interested in purchasing these photos, please place your orders with Cindy, and the orders will take approximately 3 weeks to process. Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing us to do this announcement. It seems in the midst of all of our business, all of you were looking at the pictures and then coming up and asking about them anyway, so we decided just to nip this in the bud and take care of it. Mr. President, I believe that concludes our announcement time.
I think maybe it's in order that we thank him for doing and then redoing, and also for the 110 emails he got, I won't name names, for photoshopping each of your photographs. Forget it. But why don't we thank him for doing that more than once. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Majors, please read the title of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar.
House Bill 1035 by Representative Fields and Senator Cook concerning changes to crime victim compensation. House Bill 1106 by Representative Sane and Senator Sonnenberg concerning the clarification of access by eligible persons to redacted adoption records that contain identifying information. House Bill 1188 by Representatives Ryden and Primavera and Senator Neville concerning clarifications to the state vocational rehabilitation program. Senate Bill 193 by Senators Neville and Newell and Representatives Tate and Tyler concerning the consolidation of 2 reports that the statewide Internet Portal Authority is required to submit to the members of the General Assembly.
Hang on. We okay?
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Undo.
Merrifield's out there.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I would move that the Senate adopt all of the bills on the third reading of bills for final passage consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1035, House Bill 1106, House Bill 1188, and Senate Bill 193.
Is there further discussion on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? Are there any no votes on any of the bills? Senator Balmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'll be a respectful no vote on House Bill 1188.
Senator Balmer will be a no vote on House Bill 1188. Additional no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1035 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Kafalis, Senator Roberts, Senator Newell, Senator Kerr, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Merrifield, Senator Crowder, Senator Heath, Senator Todd, Senator Garcia, Senator Guzman. Co-sponsors: With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1106 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Newell. Senator Neville. Senator Woods. Senator Lundberg. Senator Marble. Moving on. With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1188 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Newell. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 193 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Baumgartner. Third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 180.
Senate Bill 180 by Senator Neville and Representative Neville concerning state agency requirements for the enforcement of new regulatory requirements on small businesses and in connection therewith enacting the Regulatory Reform Act of 2015.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 180 on third reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 180? Are there any no votes? Minority Leader Carroll. Senator Heath. Senator Aguilar. Senator Guzman. Senator Ulibarri. Senator Jones. Senator Kerr. Senator Hodge. Senator Donovan. Senator Stedman. Senator Newell. Senator Garcia. Senator Merrifield. Senator Todd. Further no votes. With 20 ayes, 14 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 180 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Scheffel. Senator Woods. Senator Holbert. Senator Lundberg. Senator Grantham. Senator Baumgartner. Senator Marble. Senator Sonnenberg. Senator Scott. Senator Cook. Senator Holbert, I think I got you. Senator Roberts. Senator Balmer. Please have the President. Senator Lambert. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 175.
Senate Bill 175 by Senators Holbert and Cook and Representative Humphrey concerning repealing certain provisions regarding ammunition magazines.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 175 on third reading and final passage.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise and say that I saw what the senator from Weld County brought forward yesterday, and I've heard the discussions about how quickly magazines can be changed. And I think research is one thing, reality is another. And the reality of what we've seen is that at least twice people's lives have been changed by either somebody needing to change a magazine or a magazine jamming. And the gentleman who is being tried in Aurora right now, was mentally deranged and purchased those easily on the internet. Hopefully, bills like this will keep that from happening, and I rise in strong opposition to this bill and will be a no vote today. Thank you.
Is there further discussion?
President Kapman.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to commend the family members of the victims of these tragedies for coming into this building, for standing in the lobby, for coming to our committees and testifying, for sharing the photos of your loved ones. I thank you for sharing your personal stories and your terrible, tragic losses. You came in, you fought through the tears, the pain, and the anguish of the senseless loss of your loved ones. Irreplaceable souls who will leave a hole in your heart that will never heal. And out of respect for each of their lives, we all stood yesterday as the minority leader read the names and displayed the photos. And as I listened to the testimony during the judiciary hearing, my heart went out to each of you as a parent, as a fellow human. But what's been echoing in my head since the hearing was something that Sandy Phillips said. She said her beautiful daughter, Jessica, and everyone else in the theater that night were sitting ducks. Something else that's been echoing my head from another hearing. Evil can approach without warning. You may remember the young lady that shared her thoughts and those words, Krista Ceresa. Her mother, Jenny May, was brutally raped, tortured, and murdered by Gary Davis, I believe the last man to be executed in Colorado. On July 21st, 1986, Gary, a serial rapist, more than a dozen women, a serial rapist, and his wife, Rebecca, kidnapped their neighbor, Ginny May, from in front of her children, including Krista. They drove her to a field where Davis tortured and repeatedly raped May, and then shot her 14 times with a rifle. Krista came to this building and testified to no avail, begging us, pleading with us, not to hinder her right and her ability to defend herself and her family. Evil can approach without warning, haunting. As a child, Krista stared into the very eyes of evil as two neighbors that she trusted. These weren't strangers, these were people that she trusted. Dragged her mother away from her and her siblings. Evil approached that theater in July. Evil approached a high school in Bailey. Evil approached Columbine. Evil approached a high school, Arapahoe High School. Evil approached a bar in Denver in October 2013, but nobody stood here and named off the victims of the mass murder at Pharaoh's Bar and Grill. Nobody paid tribute to young Pharaoh, to Dariah Pohl, to Kellen Fallon, to Ross Richter, or to Teresa Beasley. Denver District Attorney Mitch Morrissey said after that hearing that he'd never seen a case where 5 people were killed at the hands of one individual. Obviously, this was in Denver. He said, "We have a man and 4 women who were allegedly laid face down at a bar and butchered. Evil approached and attacked and killed everyone in that bar." How large was the magazine? Was it 5 rounds? Was it 10 rounds? Was it 30? Was it 100? What was it? What size was the caliber of that rifle? Was it a shotgun? Was it a handgun? Was it an assault weapon? All 5 people in that bar were mass murdered with a knife in Denver in 2013. Evil can approach without warning. That's what Krista said. People can become the target of violence. People gathered in large places become sitting ducks. It happens across this city every day. It happens across the state. It happens all across the country. It happens in this building. Look around. So will there be more gatherings in the future where people could be targets? Unfortunately, yes. Will this ban ever stop a criminal from acquiring any magazine of any size and using it for evil? Ever? No. Never. Never. Bad guys are never going to comply with this law. Criminals aren't going to comply. They're criminals. Will it stop a law-abiding citizen from acquiring and using one? To even include for self-defense? Absolutely. That's the difference. We heard that testimony from Dylan Harold. You remember Dylan? He's wheelchair-bound from a motorcycle accident. He told us he'll never be able to legally purchase another one of these magazines for his own defense. He's capable of using his weapon safely for self-defense to protect himself and his children while he's in his wheelchair. But while he's in it, he's not ever going to be able to change it, especially if he's in danger. This law has not taken away any threat. It has not made us safe. It has not reduced crime. It has not increased our security. It has not, it cannot, and it will not stop criminal, heinous acts from someone who is evil or someone who is psychologically unstable. 5 people mass murdered in a bar in Denver with a knife. Evil can approach without warning. Somebody stood at this microphone yesterday and mentioned that the Second Amendment was never envisioned by the forefathers to cover this kind of advanced weaponry technology. The Second Amendment was written during a time where they had the greatest weapons technology of all times. Individuals had muskets, the government had muskets. Individuals had gunpowder, the government had gunpowder. And they think they had some cannons too. The Second Amendment was not about the hardware. Nothing about the hardware. I mentioned looking at these pictures last night. And I did, and we saw the pictures yesterday, and these are the ones of all the children from Sandy Hook and the teachers. But I also looked at these pictures last night, and you've seen these pictures. I keep them on my desk. They're my kids, about 12 years ago. On a clock, the battery quit working, and I thought, that's a perfect, frozen in time opportunity for my kids. And I thanked God for every holiday, every birthday, every Christmas that I've had with them, and every day in between. And I also thank God that I didn't have to go to their funerals like these parents did. And if I thought this bill was a threat to their future, to their lives, I would not support it. I could not support it. Could you? Evil can approach without warning. But using the deaths of the innocent to reason away the rights of the innocent will not stop evil. Magazines banned by House Bill 1224 can only have the opposite effect of its intention. It virtually guarantees that the bad guys, the criminals that don't care about the law, remember, because they're criminals, it guarantees that the bad guys will always be better armed than the good guys. And when evil approaches without warning, and our kids are jeopardized, do we really want the bad guys to be better armed than the good guys? I hope we don't. I hope you'll vote yes.
President Cadman, would you like your second 10 minutes? Senator Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I think there's a few things that we have unanimous agreement on in this chamber, and that is we all strongly support everyone's right for self-defense. This bill is not about self-defense. This bill is about whether or not we repeal a limit on high-capacity magazines. All of the activities that we need to do, whether it is defend ourselves, whether it is hunting, sportsmanship, the question is fundamentally about the inconvenience of reloading after some period of time. People, law-abiding citizens, can still exercise the full complement of everything a law-abiding citizen can do. We all agree and fully, passionately support the right of everyone to self-defense. The problem I have with the argument about bad guys aren't going to comply with the law is that same argument can apply to every single law. Every single law. If someone is evil, if someone is a madman, if someone doesn't care about the laws, go through a list of any particular criminal behavior that we outlaw and ask yourself the same question. Does a law against evil behavior ever guarantee perfect compliance, that we stop all evil? And the answer is no. But that doesn't mean that we don't make a law to that effect. We talked yesterday about all laws are enforced in the exact same way, and the reality is someone who is deranged or evil, whether they're violating a high-capacity magazine in the case of a 100-round drum like a madman entering the theater, or whether it is an evil, deranged person who is assaulting children or carelessly getting behind a wheel of a car, knowingly putting other people's lives at risk. Everything that we have set up in this statute, it is possible for someone to ignore. But if we didn't have the laws on the books, we couldn't catch them and we couldn't intervene. So I guess I would just extend this argument. That argument argues against every law we have on the books, because someone who is sociopathic or psychotic may well ignore everything. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be detected, pursued, or prosecuted. At some point, it's just down to the question of what is the inconvenience of reloading after some period of time compared with what those moments mean, and those moments matter. Those moments matter in a difference between life and death. Those moments have mattered time and time again. We're talking fundamentally about mass shootings. We are not talking about normal behavior. And in those cases of mass shootings, all carnage for any reason, by any cause, is horrible. We share a united condemnation of all acts of mad people, of evil people. But time and time again around the country, we have seen those mere moments to reload have been the moment where you have actually been able to take out a bad guy, when people have been able to intervene and stop an assailant, where law enforcement have been able to come in and secure a premises, where victims have been allowed to run and flee for their lives. Moments matter. So I stand here to say we all passionately support everyone's right to self-defense, that I agree that crazed psychopaths are potentially going to disregard any law. But I would say that that argument would speak against outlawing anything if we think that the sociopathic among us may not abide. Is it a reason not to have a law? And I would say no. We have those laws because it does prevent some, and it does catch some. And in the end of the day, moments matter. It is a difference between life or death. It is the moments between stopping a madman. It is those mere moments that let you flee or call for help versus the inconvenience of potentially reloading after 15 on a high-capacity magazine. Because we never know which of those people may, in fact, have been alive today, if we had had to pause and take that moment after 15 rounds, because those are real human beings, we can't ever know exactly how the facts would have played out. But what we do know from the history of mass shootings that have become more frequent and more lethal than ever before is time and time again we have factual situations where that was able to stop a bad guy, where it was allowing people to flee and save their lives. And for that reason, of course, and in the memory and honor, not only of all the people that we talked about that were the victims and their loved ones and families in Aurora, but for anybody everywhere who has lost anyone to any kind of violence, would respectfully ask for a no vote.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise in support of Senate Bill 175, and I will not try to repeat your most articulate and salient comments on why this is a bill that defends the honest citizen and really stands for the defense of ourselves and our families and our communities. But I do want to add one point that I believe is particularly important in considering this bill that repeals a law on the books that does not work. And for all the assurances we've been given that somehow the law limiting the capacity of a magazine has had a beneficial effect, we've been assured by law enforcement that the law itself is completely unenforceable. And that renders it a cruel hoax, a hollow assurance. Is that the type of statute that we intend to put on the books, or laws that mean nothing? Or are we to really address the issues at hand? And when it comes to the defense of ourselves and our families, we need to not play games with statute. Senate Bill 175 simply removes a law that does not work. And for that reason and the many reasons that you spoke of yourself, Mr. President, I would urge anyone in the Senate, all in the Senate, to support this important measure that tells the people of Colorado we're serious about the laws for Colorado and we are serious about your ability to protect yourself and your family.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Heath, Senator Kafalis, Senator Aguilar, Senator Guzman, Senator Jones, Senator Ulibarri, Senator Merrifield, Senator Kerr, Senator Todd, Senator Hodge, Senator Stedman, Senator Newell. With 21 ayes, 13 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 175 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Lundberg, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Crowder, Senator Marble, Senator Scott, Senator Roberts, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Lambert, Senator Grantham, Senator Hill, Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 183.
Senate Bill 183 by Senators Hodge and Sonnenberg and Representatives Arndt and Becker J. concerning the quantification of the historical consumptive use of a water right.
Senator Hodge.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 183 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Baumgardner, Senator Roberts, Senator Merrifield, Senator Donovan, Senator Scott, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Kafalis, Senator Hill. No votes. With 26 ayes, 8 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 183 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Ulibarri, Senator Guzman, Senator Crowder, Senator Woods, Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 194.
Senate Bill 194 by Senator Neville and Newell and Representatives Tate and Tyler concerning the Board of Directors of the Statewide Internet Portal Authority.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 194 and ask for an aye vote on third and final reading.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 194 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Lambert, Senator Kerr, Senator Grantham, please add the President. General Order, second reading of bills, consent. Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the General Order's second reading of bills consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of General Order's second reading of bills consent calendar. Senator Grantham will take the chair.
Committee will come to order and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the titles to all the bills listed on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 198 by Senator Crowder and Representative Vehil concerning modifications to the Colorado Water Conservation Board's following pilot program in a connection therewith expanding the program to allow an agricultural water right owner to lease an agricultural water right for temporary agricultural, environmental, industrial, or recreational use. Senate Bill 199 by Senator Sonnenberg and Representative Vehil concerning the continuation of the funding for the Habitat Partnership Program in the Division of Parks and Wildlife. House Bill 1150 by Representative Rankin and Senator Grantham concerning annual Tier 2 transfers from the Severance Tax Operational Fund to an existing special account in the General Fund established by the Mined Land Reclamation Board for the purpose of funding reclamation of lands that were obligated to be reclaimed under permits upon which financial warranties have been forfeited. House Bill 1048 by Representative Williams and Senator Balmer concerning authority of the Commissioner of Insurance to adopt principle-based life insurance reserve requirements for life insurance policies. Senate Bill 90 by Senator Todd and Representative Tyler concerning the adoption of standards governing temporary permits of motor vehicles for effective readability. House Bill 1209 by Representative Tyler and Senator Scott concerning the Highway Maintenance Division of the Department of Transportation. Senate Bill 192 by Senator Aguilar and Representative Joshi concerning the provision of a therapeutic alternate drug selection to patients residing in certain long-term care facilities. House Bill 1182 by Representatives Lontine and Longroff and Senator Aguilar concerning the expansion of the scope of practice of certified nurse aides to include certain tasks.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been requested that Senate Bill 90 be removed from the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar and added to the end of the General Order second reading of bills calendar.
Senate Bill 90 will be removed from the consent calendar and moved to the end of the General Order second reading of bills calendar. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time I move that the committee adopt the remaining bills on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 198, Senate Bill 199, House Bill 1150, House Bill 1048, House Bill 1209, Senate Bill 192 and its associated Health and Human Services Committee report, and House Bill 1182 and its associated Health and Human Services Committee report. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the reports on all the bills on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills listed on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
March 17, 2015, Mr. President, your committee, the whole basic reports under consideration of the following task bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 198, Senate Bill 199, Senate Bill 192 is amended, passed on second reading in order to gross place the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1150, 1048, 1209, 1182 is amended, passed on second reading in order to revise place the counter for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 90 removed from the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar and placed at the end of the General Order second reading of bills calendar for March 17, 2015.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption of the report.
Is there further discussion on the Committee of the Whole report? Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 198, Senate Bill 199, Senate Bill 192 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered and grossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1150, House Bill 1048, House Bill 1209, House Bill 1182 as amended passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 90 removed from the general orders second reading of bills consent calendar and placed at the end of the general orders second reading of bills calendar for March 17, 2015. Before we move on, please join me in welcoming Senator Schwartz back to the chamber. That was weak. Come on, give it up. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills. Senator Grantham will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 173?
Senate Bill 173 by Senator Holbert and Representative Pabon concerning expanding protections for student data security.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 173 in the Education Committee report.
To the Education Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Education Committee, we did approve a strike below that simplified the bill in original drafting. There was an attempt to bring together two or more sections of existing statute dealing with data privacy. In order to simplify that, we removed that, made some changes that were requested by different stakeholders, and the committee report did, that strike below amendment did pass unanimously. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion to the committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L007?
Amendment L007 to Senate Bill 173 by Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After the committee hearing, some representatives of BOCES came and pointed out that we had neglected to include them, address BOCES, and L007 comes at the request of the BOCES, asking them to be included in this bill. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L007? Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This looks like a reasonable amendment. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Holbert, would you move your amendment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L007.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on L007? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of L007. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L007 is adopted. There is another amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read L012?
Amendment L012 to Senate Bill 173 by Senator Woods.
Senator Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During our hearing in the Education Committee, there were some concerns. I move Amendment L012.
Thank you. To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During the Education Committee, there was some conversation about the amendment we offered in education. This amendment is a fix of Amendment 4, which we offered in the Education Committee. What we've done is we've taken out the requirement that vendors delete the data they have collected. We've worked hard with the vendors, the stakeholders, the moms, and this is a really good coming together of all those groups for a good amendment. So we'd ask for an aye vote on Amendment 12.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I rise in support of L012. This amendment does take care of some questions we had around the strike below that was presented in the Education Committee, particularly around the deletion of all data. We were concerned that there's important data like our children's attendance records or scholastic achievements that we do want to keep record of, especially when they are moving on to other educational achievements. So I ask for an aye vote on L012.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too rise in support of this amendment. I want to thank parents around the state, especially moms, for working with those who had concerns about the original amendment. I want to thank my colleagues on the other side of the aisle on the Education Committee for working together and finding a good solution to be able to move this bill forward. Ask for an aye vote.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to third my colleagues' endorsement of this amendment, and I appreciate their working to address some of the concerns we expressed in committee, so I would also urge your support of this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L012? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L012. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L012 is adopted. There is another amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L013?
Amendment L013 to Senate Bill 173 by Senator Kerr.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L013.
Do the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L013 goes into the definitions of what an operator is, what they are in this case. So as we were talking to folks who actually do this, and there are different types of organizations out there, some whose job it is to collect data and store data and then release that data at certain times, and other computer systems that are more like a platform on which school curriculum is presented, or it's more of a platform system where schools actually run classrooms through the system, and they're not so much about collecting data. In the business of in the computer business, these are normally called learning management systems. There are also some called education management organizations, and then of course there are also companies that strictly provide curriculum. They sell curriculum to the district. So what we're trying to do here with L013 is to say that if one of these curriculum providers, an education management organization, or a learning management system that is directly contracted with the school district, and of course, so we don't need another amendment around BOCES, we include all the Charter School Institute, and BOCES language in there as well. But these are companies that provide, they're more in the business of providing information and services to the school districts rather than collecting information and storing it. And this would be a huge burden on these companies, which means it would cost our districts more to contract with them, more of our taxpayer dollars through the school system to contract with them if we lump them in with the other operators that collect the data, which I believe we're truly targeting here in this bill. So with that, I ask for your support of L013.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank my colleague from Jefferson County, Lakewood, and respectfully ask for a no vote on this amendment. It's right on the line. This bill attempts to deal with third-party data vendors, and my colleague has made a good argument that these entities are not, that they are under a contract with a specific school, but there is the ability of these entities to have that data and share it, sell it, and it's a difficult question. So I fall just slightly on the side of the line of, no, this probably isn't a good amendment, but I certainly respect the decision of the body. Ask for a no vote.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too ask for a no vote on this amendment. If we have these vendors, they have a responsibility to the district that needs to be included. If there are costs included in the contract, unfortunately, those costs need to be taken care of. Our data is more important than the dollars and cents. Our children's futures and the information pertained must be safeguarded.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that's the point of this. As we know that times are tight with districts right now, with our schools, where we've all heard discussions in our local districts about cuts to schools over the last few years. Every single dollar does matter. These are the learning management systems that we already have contracts with, our districts already have contracts with. But if we change the rules on them and pull out the rug on them, they are going to charge our districts more because they will be asked to do more. And these are systems, these are businesses that are not in the business of collecting information. These are businesses in the business of providing information and services to our school districts. Every single dollar does matter. I think in fact, I know our students and our children will be protected, their information will be protected. I ask for the adoption of L013.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L013? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L013. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and that amendment is lost. To the bill. Is there any further discussion on Senator Holbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the concise debate here this morning. Truly appreciate the bipartisan support that this bill received out of Education Committee, and want to thank my colleague, Speaker Pro Tem and Representative Dan Pabon. This is a great step in restoring trust with parents, with our public school system, and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, I rise in support of the bill, and actually this is an issue I had the pleasure of working on last year with Representative Murray in a bill that she brought forward. And I had a great interest in this bill, and when I read it, I discovered that there's a piece of it that I wanted to bring to the body's attention, and so I have an amendment, Mr. Chairman.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L009?
Amendment L009 is Senator 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Amendment L009. And colleagues, this amendment makes one simple change to the bill, which is to strike a paragraph on page 7 and a very similar paragraph again on page 8 of your committee report that exempts rural schools from the protections of this law. It exempts rural schools from being required to provide notice to parents with the information that the bill specifies that parents should receive. And it also exempts rural schools from being required to put this information on their website if they have one. Now, for me, when you talk about data privacy and you talk about whether or not it's a right of parents to know who has access to the data, who the district is contracting with, I think these are fairly fundamental, fairly principled objectives of this bill, and I don't understand why we would choose to not apply them equally to all schools, all school districts, all children, all parents, all families in the state. And so Amendment 009 would simply remove these exemptions so that the protections and the procedures of this law would extend equally across all four corners of the state, leaving no family behind. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion on Amendment L009? Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank all of the stakeholders who participated in discussion on this bill. I want to be very careful with the small rural districts that have limited technology, limited staffing. We have heard over and over again in the education committees of a principal who is the snowplow driver and the school bus driver and the coach. If the rural districts have asked to be excluded from this, and we have brought the bill to this point, I would ask for a no vote on this amendment. If our colleagues in the House take up this issue, I'd certainly respect that with more thorough debate, but I think at this point in the Senate, we would honor our commitments to the stakeholders who have had input on this bill and respectfully ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L009? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L009. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Noes have it, and that amendment is lost. Is there any further discussion? There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L010?
Amendment L010 to Senate Bill 173 by Senator Stedman.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Amendment L010. Well, folks, if you didn't like the prior amendment, then you're going to have to like this one, because this amendment reflects your previous vote in the legislative declaration of the bill, because the legislative declaration of the bill says that it is the intent of the General Assembly to achieve the following purposes with this act: to ensure the privacy of all public school students. Folks, this isn't true. We're exempting rural school districts from some of the protections of this law, and yet we're grandiosely declaring at the beginning that we're doing something for everyone. Amendment L010 would note in that legislative declaration that there are exceptions, and it would declare that one of the purposes of the act is to provide less protection to students in rural school districts than their counterparts in suburban and urban districts. If you didn't like the previous amendment, here's the harsh reality of your vote.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, this issue may be worthy of debate in committee as the bill hopefully reaches the House. But I think that it would be good for us to recognize that not all communities in Colorado are subject or have access to the data that we live with on a regular basis here in the metro area. I ask for a no vote on L010.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L010? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment L010. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Noes have it, and that amendment is lost. Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 173? Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, renew my request for an aye vote on Senate Bill 173, and thank everyone who has participated in taking this step forward and restoring trust with parents and students in our education system here in the state of Colorado.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And while I have to express my disappointment over at least a couple of those amendments not passing, I do think that the bill is in better shape at this point than it was coming out of the Education Committee. I am going to urge an aye vote as well. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 173? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 173. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 202?
Senate Bill 202 by Senator Balmer and Representative Pabon concerning the regulation of water conditioning appliances pursuant to the Plumbing Code.
Senator Balmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members, I move Senate Bill 202 and the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, the committee report was a clarifying amendment requested by Dora. I move its adoption.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, members, it's my honor to bring to you Senate Bill 202. It's important that I give you a little snippet of history as to how we got to this point. But this is a bill that has been requested by a group of water conditioning contractors, water filtration contractors who have, in the eyes of some, been accidentally brought underneath the state plumbing code. Back in 2013, DORA had their sunset report on plumbing and the plumbing contractors, the normal sunset report. There was no mention in the DORA report about anything having to do with water filtration contractors or water conditioning contractors. And it came through the committee with no real controversy, came out of the committee and was on the floor. One of our colleagues, former colleagues from Thornton, who used to chair the business committee, offered a second reading amendment to put water conditioning contractors underneath the state plumbing code. It was not caught by anybody. It went through without discussion, and it was passed without any controversy. Unfortunately, the result of that has been that we now have a situation where the contractors who provide water filtration systems, they just do one thing. They put water filters on our very hard water here in Colorado. And they've been doing it for decades, but all of a sudden they're underneath the strict requirements of the state plumbing code, which imposes on them a lot. Well, basically they have to be plumbers, or they have to hire a plumber into their company. Most of these water filtering contractors are one-person companies or companies that have their family companies, small business people who've been working hard to build their own American dream. Bringing a full-time master plumber into their business increases their budget by about $75,000. And that is an expense that's an extraordinary expense for a small one-person water conditioning contractor business. So what this bill will merely do is return it to the way it was prior to 2013 when, unfortunately, they were put underneath the state plumbing code. It's important to understand that when you're underneath the state plumbing code, you have to have 3,400 hours of training as a residential plumber. You have to have 6,800 hours as a journeyman plumber, and you have to have 8,500 hours of training as a master plumber. Now, you need to be able, if you're in those categories, you've got to be able to do all kinds of plumbing, commercial settings, as in, for example, if you were fixing the plumbing here in the state capitol, which, by the way, there is no hot water in the men's room at all, ever. Anytime you put your hands underneath the thing, it's always cold water. But anyway, I digress. And Senator from Boulder is affirming that comment. So anyway, if they were here at the state capitol, they could work on our plumbing here. If they were in an office building in downtown Denver that's 40 stories, they could work on that. If they were in a residential setting and they were repairing plumbing, they could all work on that. The water filtration contractors don't want to do any of that. They have never wanted to do any of that. All they want to do is put a water filter so that when you get your water, it doesn't have all the hard chemicals that we have in our Colorado water. So members, I'm encouraging you to please pass Senate Bill 202 to give these small business people the opportunity to return to where they were prior to the 2013 change in statute.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the bill sponsor for bringing this. I rise and I'm a respectful no on the bill and want to give my reasoning, which is very specific to my district. Folks may know that I represent Commerce City. It's the area that I was raised in. It's where most of my extended family currently resides. And we have a joke in Commerce City. Generally, it's don't drink the water. We can say that. No one else can say that. I'm just going to put that on record. But it's due to very high mineral content. The water is incredibly hard, and it requires that most residents in Commerce City buy a water purification or water filtration system. It is a necessity. Living in Commerce City, in about a month, your shower heads will crust over and be completely blocked if you don't have a water softener system. And so many residents in my Senate district did this, and they hired with a local company to do it and to install the water filtration and water purification systems correctly. And, you know, we joke around about don't drink the water. It might smell a little funny. And again, only we can say that if you live in the area. But unfortunately, in this circumstance, this company, high-profile case and story, a very liberal guy, Dan Caplis, the conservative talk show radio host, was the lawyer who actually brought the case. Because over 150 homes were impacted in Commerce City where this water purification system company had installed the systems incorrectly. And when I say that, it's not a minor mishap. It is not something that has minor impacts. What happened is that the sewage line was improperly installed back into the water purification system, and the homeowners literally had their potable water, their drinking water, contaminated with feces and urine because of this mistake. So what did that mean for the homeowners? What did it mean for the families? What did it mean for the kids? It meant that their showering water, their drinking water was fully contaminated, and they had no idea that this had happened under their own roof. And it was because the person didn't follow the installation properly, did it incorrectly, and not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but over 150 times in my district alone. This same company had performed similar work in thousands of homes across the metro area. So when a senator from Adams County made an amendment in 2013 specifically about making sure that these are installed properly by trained professionals, it is something that is regional and very specific to our part of town. So I'm opposed to the bill as drafted because I do think it takes away critical consumer protection, which is to ensure that our water is clean and safe. I think most Coloradans can agree that our water should be clean and safe, and the folks who are installing a system should know about the potential health impacts. The Catano family was the one that raised this issue, and they raised this issue because literally the water coming out of their sink smelled like feces. I don't think any family would ever want to be in that position, and the way we avoid that is that we have licensed professionals doing the work right the first time around. Thanks.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm not going to comment on Commerce City or any of the issues that might have happened there with water, feces in their water. And of course, that's not desirable by anybody. However, this bill, or actually the original amendment that the former senator actually passed, has nothing to do with the correct attachment of water softeners. It basically put a carve out in Colorado statute for a certain group, licensed commercial plumbers. Now, when we asked in testimony in the committee, and it was actually a very informative committee, we asked regarding, do licensed commercial plumbers make mistakes? Do licensed commercial plumbers also possibly not pull permits as required by law? The answers to both of those were yes. Now, the question that we had when we talked to the folks that did the actual water softener installation also was very enlightening. There are issues around the correct installment of water softeners that those that do that for a living understand, and there are those that even commercial plumbers, unless they do this on a regular basis, do not understand. Now, I'm not here to ask for the licensing of commercial plumbers in the installation of water softeners and ask them to take a specific course for that. I don't think that's the intent. However, when we talk about what is important to consumer protection, the original amendment did nothing for consumer protection. Here's the other issue. The majority of these softener units that are installed incorrectly are done by homeowners. I'm not here to ask for the licensing of all homeowners. There is a permit process. It should be followed by any professional that is installing. That has nothing to do with this bill. And so this bill does not prevent that process from happening as it should. So I ask for an aye vote on this bill.
Senator John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was also a yes vote in committee, and I'll tell you why. The process this went through bothers me a lot, because we took the bill through in 2013 through committee. It was heard. It was a department bill. It was the sunset. This was never discussed. Never discussed in the sunset bill. That is not how we do business down here. If there's something that needs to be fixed, that's the dialogue I want to have. If there's some way that they need to be more certified, that's the dialogue I want to have. But to take them as small business owners who are struggling to make it, I know everybody's tired of hearing that, but guess what? It's a reality. They're struggling to make it as it is. Now we, the state, have told them, sorry, you have to become a plumber. No, that's not whatever I wanted to. I never wanted to be a plumber. I never wanted to be a licensed plumbing contractor. Well, too bad, that's what you have to be in order to do what you're doing. There are licensed plumbers who do not even install these water systems. So the process that we went through, I think, is really sad. If we need to have a discussion, then that's what we need to have. But to make them become a licensed plumbing contractor with everything that goes through with that, costing them an additional $75,000 to $125,000 a year, would you like to pay that bill? For something they didn't even want to be. This happens all over, and most of the time, and it'll happen even if you pass this bill. Do-it-yourselfers, these big box stores, they sell these systems. Go install one. You really think that homeowners are pulling permits and having inspections to have this done? The handyman, you really think that they're going through the process? And some of them really don't know what they're doing, but how easy can this be? So I don't believe that you're really fixing the problem that people have said that there is. But to take this through a sunset process and then slide an amendment through on second reading, to me, is just not how we do things. We should have had these people at the table when this was coming through so that we could have come to some solutions. This is just not something that I think we should have done. So I'm hoping as it moves forward that they will take time to have those discussions because fair is fair. So I'm going to remain a yes vote and hope that everyone can come to the table like they should have done in 2013.
Senator Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of Senate Bill 202 as well. And what we heard in the committee, as you've heard this morning, is that these units are installed often by handymen and husbands, and I have one of those. And I used to live in Adams County in Brighton where the water was so high in nitrates they told us not to feed it to our babies, right? So I understand what my good friend from Commerce City has said. But what we heard is that the water conditioning contractors, they want to work with the plumbers, they want to pull permits, they want to get inspections when they've installed one of these units. They're not trying to skirt the process, the safety measures that are in place. But this is a free market system. If we can fix this law, then the water conditioning contractors can work alongside the plumbers. They can complement each other in their business. And I said at committee, and I'll say it again here today, it makes as much sense to have the water conditioners require a master plumber in their business as it does to require the plumbers to have a water chemist in their business. Neither can afford it. And so I'm asking for an aye vote on 202. This is a good bill. It's good for small business, and we've heard over and over, Colorado is a small business state. So thank you.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess don't think this is a small business. It's not a big business bill. It's just a bill that I think protects the public. This was a fascinating conversation in the business labor technology. And it was one of the ones that I think I will always remember. We had diagrams from plumbers. We had diagrams from the industry. We had went into, in some respects, excruciating detail on this about where the valves were, where the shutoffs were, how do you basically do this? And, this is one of these reasonable people can disagree, and I think we're all being reasonable. I heard it differently than some of the others did. I heard this was truly a safety issue that my friend from Commerce City described, and I really bought into that this is a concern. This is not a simple task, and that you need a master plumber to basically, and nobody guarantees perfection, obviously. Everybody can make mistakes, but somebody who is trained and can do this and make certain that we don't have a Commerce City experience or other experiences. We had multiple people come in and talk about stories just as described with a Commerce City. Believe me, this is not my world. I can't do anything. My wife's father was in the hardware business. I was a disaster. But when you listen to these stories, this is not a simple thing. And I truly believe that this bill, the original bill, what we did in 2013, no matter how we got there, I don't think that's material to this conversation. I think the fact of the matter is that we have a legitimate concern, and that's why I voted no on this bill.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I also served on the committee and listened to testimony, and I would really like to vote yes on this bill. I did vote no on it in committee because there were some public safety issues that were brought from witnesses who we had one guy who was one of the former inspectors of the state for years, and he talked about the numerous problems with public safety issues. So I had spoken with the proponents of the bill after committee, and we had talked, and they had agreed that they would work on an amendment. I thought it was going to be ready for the floor. It's not ready yet, so I understand that they are going to be doing it in the House, which will help with confirming that these water softener and water conditioning experts would make sure that they were committed to pulling the permits and getting inspections on them. One of the issues also that came out in testimony was that they did agree that the proponents of the bill would agree to inspections of master plumbers, but just not having to hire them and not having to incorporate that full cost. So I would love to vote aye when it comes back with that. My friend from Centennial, right now I'm going to be a no, but when it comes back, hopefully with that amendment, I plan on voting yes for your bill.
Senator Balmer. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to stand up here very briefly and to tell you I support this bill. I'm not a licensed master plumber, but I built my own house, and under those conditions, I did the plumbing and went through the inspection process. I understand a little bit about what direction these things flow, and I'll tell you what, I'm really scratching my head as to how you could wire or plumb up the waistline from a water softener so as to backflow black water, the black water side of a sewer system, back into your potable water. I can understand how you could maybe get the brine part back into the water, but I think we've got a little bit of confusion as to how this stuff works. Well, I'll tell you this, it's not that complicated. It is not that complicated. These appliances are actually designed for the homeowner, and they are set out in step-by-step processes, and I find it quite offensive when we think that we can tell every citizen in the state of Colorado, how dare you try to work on your own home and your own things. Don't you know you need to go hire somebody who's $100 an hour because we know better and you don't? That's offensive to me. That's quite offensive. And when Colorado law steps in and has such a heavy hand as that over the people of Colorado, it's no wonder they throw up their hands in disbelief as to all the rules and the laws we try to shove down their throat. This is a good law, a good bill that puts in place a sound policy that allows the individual citizen, the homeowner, to address the issues as it's been designed and manufactured for, without so much extra mechanisms put in place that it becomes untenable. I want people to have access to the products that are out there, and this bill certainly does that. I compliment the sponsor for his efforts and urge an aye vote.
Senator Balmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I do want to thank everyone who's come up to speak on this bill. I appreciate the dialogue in committee. I appreciate the dialogue on the floor. To the gentle lady from Littleton, who is my favorite female legislator from Littleton. I do like the male legislator from Littleton as well. But in any event, it's so hard to do this without mentioning names. The proponents of this bill are working diligently with CML to resolve issues so that CML will be neutral on the bill and will be working to make sure that it gets through the House. That's being continued. We thought it would be ready for today, but it wasn't. So in any event, that is ongoing, and I think that that will come back from the House fixed. I want to thank the gentle lady from Wheat Ridge for her support in committee and on the floor. Her comments were very helpful in committee, and I really appreciated them. The bottom line of this is that water filtration contractors always want to be safe. Has there been a bad apple out there? Perhaps, I don't know. Has there been plumbing contractors who have not done their job properly? Perhaps. That's happened in the past sometime. What we're trying to do is make sure that the American dream can be maintained for all of those that never wanted to be plumbers to begin with. And so I respectfully ask for a yes vote, and I do appreciate the dialogue from everyone in the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 202? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 202. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 211?
Senate Bill 211 by Senator Lambert, Representative Reagan, concerning an automatic funding mechanism for payment of future costs attributable to certain of the state's capital assets.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 211 lay over to March 18.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 211 to March 18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill will be laid over to March 18. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 129.
Senate Bill 129 by Senator Lambert, concerning preserving the parent-child relationship in domestic relations actions.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 129 lay over to March 19.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 129 to March 19. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over to March 19. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 69.
Senate Bill 69 by Senator Woods and Representative Priola, concerning the repeal of the Job Protection and Civil Rights Enforcement Act of 2013.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 69 lay over to March 20.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 69 to March 20. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over till March 20. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1254.
House Bill 1254 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning the elimination of the General Appropriations Act limitation and the definition of the total governing board appropriation for the treatment of higher education appropriations.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1254, and there's no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The House Bill 1254 is a Joint Budget Committee bill that corrects a technical oversight from a bill that was passed in 2014, specifically Senate Bill 1, actually two bills, Senate Bill 1 and 1319. As you may recall, members, Senate Bill 1 last year was the College Affordability Act, and that included $60 million in total appropriations for higher education. Most of that was provided as student stipends, but without this statutory change in House Bill 1254, that base funding would not be included in the definition of what's called total governing board appropriations, which was defined in House Bill 1319, which is the outcomes-based funding for higher education that was also passed last year. This corrects that technical oversight and allows us to change the base for higher education funding that we need to do to fund higher education in the budget this year with that $60 million addition. So I'd ask for an aye vote on House Bill 1254.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1254? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1254. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1254 is adopted. Mr. Majors, please read the title of the Senate Bill 86.
Senate Bill 86 by Senator Lambert, Representative Joshi, concerning criminal background checks performed pursuant to transfers of firearms.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 86 lay over to March 20.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 86 to March 20th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over to March 20. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 78.
Senate Bill 78 by Senator Neville and Representative Neville concerning a requirement that legislative council staff assemble notices to report business fiscal impacts.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 78 and the committee reports.
To the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have one small change, which basically worked around the word origin on or after January 1st. This was a change that we made so that we could basically offer the opportunity to get everything together to be ready for this bill, give the Office of Legislative Legal Service some time, and change the date that we're going to actually implement this.
Is there any further discussion on the Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of that report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the State Veterans and Military Affairs report is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the appropriations, there was a change, page 1, line 102. We struck impacts, and we put impacts in a connection there with making an appropriations. Technical change.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I move Senate Bill 78 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 78? Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, one of the, I think, serious issues that this bill presents is the apparent lack of our ability to rely on the fiscal notes as an objective presentation of the facts. My concern with this bill is, and as a businessman, I certainly respect the desire to get in outside conversations and interests around a fiscal note so that we can consider everything. But allowing just one side of an equation to enter input that would be included in our fiscal notes concerns me a great deal, because I think what it does is removes the objectivity of the fiscal note process itself. So it's not so much that I have a problem with business input. I have a problem with any input into this process other than what comes from the fiscal note section and the objectivity they bring to this. Do I and do all of us at times have concerns with the fiscal notes and what is presented? Of course. We always do. This is an ongoing conversation. But all in all, I think the people that are tasked with presenting this, they do it in an objective way, and they reach out to as many people as they possibly can to get input into this process. Again, I would have a real problem with some group, having basically the unlimited opportunity to submit information into the process without it being examined for objectivity and eliminating those others that are out there from having that same opportunity. This troubles me no end. So I guess I would have to say reluctantly, but feel strongly that this is not part of the way I think this process should work. Whether we should have a conversation about who, in addition to business interests, should be allowed to input outside of this building into this process, that's a conversation maybe we should have. But this bill, which allows basically one segment of the outside world to come in, as strongly as I feel about business, is not something that I can support. And so I will be a strong no on this bill.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me make some corrections, or actually, let me make some clarifications. Use the right language so I avoid the gavel. Senate Bill 78 does not limit testimony from individuals that might be impacted by the new regulations. Instead, Senate Bill 78 offers an opportunity for all those that may have an impact on their businesses or allied businesses to actually get online, make a comment in a central location where other people, including legislators, can actually take a look and see what is actually happening out there. Now, as a small business person, I have to tell you this is extremely important. I don't have a lobbyist that I hire to watch out for my interests here at the legislature. Certain business groups that come to testify don't always, believe this or not, the Chamber of Commerce, others, don't always have the best interests of all business when they come to testify. They focus on who their clients are, as they rightfully should. This offers a very inexpensive, affordable, and transparent way for all people who are impacted. Despite, no matter who they are, we don't limit this to certain individuals, as might have been alluded to. This is for everybody. We put it in the middle of under Office of Legislative Legal Services to provide the opportunity for fair and equitable treatment of all these comments. And I urge an aye vote.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this did not go through my committee, so this is my first real look at this bill. This is a great bill. This is a fantastic idea. This is some of the transparency and the public involvement we need to do. You know, we've implemented a mechanism this year that there's some remote testimony allowed so that people don't have to drive all the way into Denver to give their input into the process in you might say, an official capacity of the public hearing side. This bill gives the individual citizen the opportunity to weigh in on legislation on how it's going to impact their side. I wish I would have thought of this bill and be the prime sponsor. I compliment the sponsor on this, Mr. Chair, and urge anybody to look at this carefully. I don't see a downside. There is no downside unless you want to hide the process. You want to keep the people away from having a substantive form of input. We all live busy lives, all 5+ million of us in Colorado. This is a way, an excellent 21st century way for citizens to give us more information before we act on the important bills before us. Vote yes.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, members, I call this the special interest, special access bill. If you can read just the summary in the fiscal note, it gives a 5-day window commencing between 2 and 4 days after the bill's or resolution's introduction. What that means is somebody could plan a bill, keep it to themselves, drop the bill in here, and they would have a head start in writing this note so that it would benefit them, putting the onus on everybody else in the state to come in and say, no, that's not quite right, or that's not right at all. Only the people who can afford lobbyists out here probably will keep track of this. If you're in a small business trying to keep track of this, I don't know when you find time, first of all. But secondly, it puts you at a severe disadvantage of somebody who's on, quote, the inside. And that's a big problem because people can't react that quickly. And the other thing is this bill severely limits our staff in what they can do. The amendment improved that a bit, but right now when we do fiscal notes, we trust our staff to try to do as unbiased opinion on a bill as far as a fiscal note. This severely limits their ability to do that and say this just doesn't make sense. They have to pretty much print it. The amendment added they shall establish minimum standards for comments submitted by staff in the section. The minimum standards for comments may include formatting requirements and prohibition of threats, slurs, abusive and obscene language, personal attacks, and it goes on. Very, very limited authority to say whoever planned this all summer and dropped the bill is wrong, and it puts the onus on other people to correct that, and it puts them at a severe disadvantage because of the time frame. You may want to know what the impact, the fiscal impact, the financial impact is, but this bill is not the way to do it. It puts one group at a far greater advantage than anybody else. So if you have a special interest, you want to push a cause, you drop these things, and everybody has to watch for you, and you have 5 days to react, and it may not be timely. And you may be reading a very, very biased note. For that reason, I ask for a no vote on the bill.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 78? Senator Ulibarri. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment L010?
Amendment L010 to Senate Bill 78.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L010.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this amendment was offered in committee, in the State Affairs Committee where this bill was heard, and I want to bring it up again. I stand here looking out towards the lobby, and there is glass and doors separating us from the lobby core. Lobbyists in this building are required to disclose which bills they're lobbying on and why and what their financial interest is. And this continues that requirement of transparency, that we know who is interested in our legislation and why. So if a special interest or a lobbyist wants to submit comments for a business fiscal impact statement, they must disclose whether or not they would directly or indirectly financially benefit from the passage or defeat of the legislative measure or promulgation of the proposed rule, and if so, an estimate of the value of the benefit. If the person is commenting on behalf of a trade association or chamber of commerce, the names of the individuals or businesses on whose behalf the comments are submitted and are for each of those individuals or businesses. The information required under paragraph A of this subsection is required. If the person represents a public corporation, the total annual compensation of the corporation's chief executive officer and board of directors. Colleagues, this is to ensure that there is full transparency when members of the public or trade associations or lobbyists or special interests are trying to influence our activity, a yay or nay vote on a bill. We should know why. I think that is incredibly important to maintaining public confidence and trust with our voters and with the people of Colorado. And it's something that we're required to do as members of the Senate. If we have a financial interest, a direct financial interest, or an indirect financial interest in a bill, we must disclose that as well. That's called a 17C. This is in line with the way that we've tried to make sure that our voters and the people of Colorado are fully informed about our work down here, and it should be the same if we have individuals informing our fiscal notes. So with that, again, I move for the passage of L010 and ask for an aye vote.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we did see this in the first committee. My comment is the same as it would be now. It is not the intent of this bill to require anyone who makes comment to reveal the total annual compensation of their chief executive officer, their board of directors, or whether the legislative measure or proposed rule will impact this compensation. That is egregious force of government. I'm against that. I had a conversation. I know we had one of the people that testified on this bill, not in favor of it, was Mr. Phil Hayes from the AFL-CIO. And I said, Phil, I don't want a bill that requires you to list these things and have to tell us how much money you make and the impact on all of your board of directors, whoever they might be, on their total compensation. That's what we're trying to get away from here, folks. We're trying to offer information that can come back on a website to those departments who who are doing the rulemaking, so they understand the impact. This is information. This is transparency. I would hope that we would be in favor of that, and I would hope that this body does something in the name of small businesses, which this is really focused on, that would be helpful to those small businesses as opposed to giving them lip service. I urge a no vote on 10.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the comments of the previous speaker, I'd like to move to sever this amendment and have us consider lines 1 through 14, and then have a separate consideration of lines 15 through 18.
The amendment will be severed. We will consider severed section 1, lines 1 through 14 of Amendment L010. To section 1, is there any further discussion on section 1 of Amendment L010, lines 1 through 14?
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Jones.
Chair. So members, what we did with that, what we're not considering is the compensation of the corporate's chief executive. We took that out. What we're talking about here is finding out who's behind putting the information in this note that we rely upon. Again, somebody could look ahead, say, we're going to do this. This is going to be what we're going to submit. Hardly anybody else submits anything, and you're reading a very, very biased report. The special interest has special access that way. This just says that if you're representing a group, you have to say who you are. If the person is commenting on behalf of a trade association or a chamber of commerce, the names and individuals of the businesses whose behalf the comments, and that could be, you see, trade association, that's a very broadly construed. It could be a lot of things. But this is a way for us to know who's trying to get the special advantage right up front. So I ask for a yes vote.
We are on severed section number 1, lines 1 through 14 of the amendment. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I urge a no vote on the severed section. We're making a simple bill extremely complicated. I know we're very good at doing that, but I urge that we go a different tact. Urge a no vote.
Senator DeCaro, Minority Leader DeCaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members just also urge support for severed section 1 on the amendment. It is one thing to take us away from objectivity and neutrality to see how one angle or one group is affected, but every other part of the legislative process is protected by disclosure requirements by those who might have a direct personal financial interest or conflict of interest with a bill. If we're going to depart from objectivity or neutrality in the preparation of the fiscal notes, the least we can do is make sure that we are disclosing those personal direct financial conflicts of interest, and respectfully ask for an aye vote on severed section 1.
Committee, we are on severed section 1 of Amendment L010. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body on severed section 1 of Amendment L010. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Noes have it, and that section is lost. To severed section number 2. Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I withdraw severed section 2.
Severed section number 2 is withdrawn. Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 78? Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my largest concern, all you have to do is read the title of this bill. Concerning a requirement that Legislative Council staff assemble notices of reported business fiscal impacts. What about the impacts of everyone else? Whether it's the education community, whether it's the environmental community, I could go on and on. Yes, the employees themselves. I truly believe this is corrupting our whole fiscal impact process that we have in this body and in this legislature, which I think is critical to how we do our business. This removes the objectivity of that process in favor of only one group. I would certainly agree that business plays a critical role in everything we do here. I spent 40 years of my life in it, from a billion-dollar company down to basically a $0 company when we started 2 businesses. And I would like to think that we would consider everything we do business as part of this. But we also ought to consider everybody else in this. And to single out business impact without anybody else, to me, corrupts the practice. I cannot say that more strongly. This corrupts the whole process that we have. And I have other issues. Certainly the disclosure issue that we just voted on, I have a concern with. The fact that people that have their own special interests can now input into the process. But singling out business into a fiscal impact statement that we rely on just is not the right thing to do. I would strongly urge a no vote on this, because I truly believe, and I know it's a strong word, by doing this we're corrupting the actual basis and foundation that we make our decisions in here.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with the previous speaker, and I'd like to make another point, and that is, if you're a regular person, a regular small business person, a regular person out there, keeping track of the special interests that want this special access and commenting in a timely way so your ideas and thoughts are considered, puts them at an extreme disadvantage. What we should be doing is opening this up to everybody if we're going to do this kind of model. And we should also give our staff to say, hey, this does not make sense, this is incorrect, we're going to leave this out because we can't substantiate it. This bill doesn't do that. This bill takes whatever somebody planned on being the fiscal note, the business fiscal note, all summer long, and drop the bill. It gives them the advantage. It gives them special access by a special interest. This isn't how we do stuff here, in my opinion. One of the strengths is our fiscal note process. This sends it sideways, and it hurts the regular person out there who's trying to keep track of all of this, and empowers lobbyists, and so I'd ask for a no vote.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I appreciate the comments that have come, and I appreciate the call for inclusivity of all. This does not exclude anyone from making a comment. As far as making this and keeping this a bill that has little fiscal impact to the people of the state of Colorado, yet provides a vehicle for those who are impacted to make comments. It's the reason we brought the bill. And yes, I am not going to apologize for the fact that this is a bill to focus on reported business fiscal impacts. Now, I spent a lot of time campaigning this last year, and I heard everybody from every party say they're focused on business fiscal impacts. Well, I encourage us to show it today, and I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 78? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 78. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Ayes have it, and Senate Bill 78 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 45?
Senate Bill 45 by Senator Lundberg concerning the creation of income tax credit for non-public education.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 45 lay over to March 19.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 45 to March 19. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over to March 19. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1067.
House Bill 1067 by Representatives Kraft, Auburn, Landgraf, Senator Newell concerning the establishment of a continuing professional development program for licensed psychologists.
Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that House Bill 1067 lay over to March 18.
Motion before the body is to lay over House Bill 1067 to March 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over till March 18. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1004.
House Bill 1004 by Representative Tyler and Senator Todd concerning authorization for firefighter license plates to be issued for motorcycles in connection with making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that House Bill 1004 lay over to March 18.
Motion for the body is to lay over House Bill 1004 to March 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over to March 18. Mr. Majors, please read the title of the Senate Bill 197.
Senate Bill 197 by Senators Crowder and John, Representative Fields and Willett concerning the prescriptive authority of advanced practice nurses.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 197 lay over to March 18.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 197 to March 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 197 will lay over to March 18. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1134.
House Bill 1134 by Representative Quorum and Senator Cook concerning the new vehicle exemption for emissions testing of heavier diesel vehicles with model year that is no older than 2014 in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that House Bill 1134 be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Colleagues, there was a routing slip situation on this one, and this bill should have been routed to Appropriations. It was not, and would like to refer it there now. Ask for an aye vote.
Motion before the body is to refer House Bill 1134 to the Committee on Appropriations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion is adopted. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 90.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Todd and Representative Tyler concerning the adoption of standards governing temporary permits on motor vehicles for effective readability.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Senate Bill 90 be laid over to March 18.
Motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 90 to March 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion is adopted, and Senate Bill 90 be laid over to March 18. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion before the body is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
March 17, 2015, Mr. President, your committee of the whole basic reports under consideration of following tax bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 173 is amended, Senate Bill 202 is amended, Senate Bill 78 is amended, passed on second reading in order to gross, place the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1254 passed on second reading in order to revise, place the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bills 211, House Bill 1067, 1004, Senate Bill 197, Senate Bill 90 laid over until March 18, 2015, retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 129 and 45 laid over until March 19, 2015, retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 69 and 86 laid over until March 20, 2015, retaining their place on the calendar. House Bill 1134 referred to the Committee on Appropriations.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the adoption of the report.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment 001 to the Committee of the Whole report?
Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 78. Senator Ulibarri moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole show the following amendment to Senate Bill 78
Senator
did pass and that.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Committee of the Whole Amendment 1.
And it's to Senate Bill 78?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any discussion? Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. This just recognizes that the first severed portion of L010 did pass.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask for a no vote.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I would ask for a yes vote on this. You know, if somebody's going to get this special advantage to be able to, in a very short time, put in what they think the impact will be on this, we at least ought to know if they're going to gain financially from it, because they likely are, and I think our constituents would want to know that as well. So I ask for a yes vote.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to clarify, special means that basically you're a person who has a comment regarding business fiscal impact. If that makes you special, then I'm going to champion everybody that's special. And I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before the body is the adoption of Amendment 001 to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Are there any no votes? Okay, Majority Leader Scheffel. Senator, nope, keep your hands up, please. I'm going to be slow as well. Senator Woods, Senator Neville, Senator Crowder, Senator Lambert, Senator Martinez-Humanic. Now I'm going to the back row because we always have our hands up a long time. Senator Scott, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Balmer, Senator Lundberg cheating, Senator Hill, Senator Holbert, Senator Grantham, Senator Sonnenberg. Oh, going too fast. Sorry, Max. Are we to Senator Sonnenberg? Senator Marble, Senator... Oh. Mr. President, and Senator Cook, absolutely, and Madam President, if that's how I call myself. With 16 ayes, 18 noes, and 1 excused, the amendment is lost. Are there any further amendments? Okay. Seeing there's no further amendments, Majority Leader Scheffel? No. Who moved? Are there any no votes to the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report? Seeing none, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 15-173 as amended, Senate Bill 15-202 as amended, Senate Bill 15-078 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 15-1254 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 15-211, House Bill 15-1067, House Bill 15-1004, Senate Bill 15-197, Senate Bill 15-090, laid over until March 18, 2015, and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 15-129, Senate Bill 15-045, laid over until March 19, 2015, and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 15-069, Senate Bill 15-086, laid over until March 20, 2015, and retaining their place on the calendar. House Bill 15-1134, referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate lay over the balance of the calendar to March 18.
Any objection? Seeing none, the remainder of the calendar shall be laid over till March 18th. Message from the House.
March 17, 2015, Mr. President, the House has passed on third reading transmitted advisory statutes, House Bills 1251, 1212, 1224, and 1246. The House has passed on third reading transmitted advisory statutes, House Bills 1222 is amended, House Bill 1131 is amended, House Bill 1136 is amended, House Bill 1157 is amended, House Bill 1142 is amended, House Bill 1073 is amended. The House has passed on third reading and returns today with Senate Bills 103, 191, 97, and 30.
Message from the reviser.
March 17, 2015, we herewith transmit without comment House Bills 1212, 1224, 1246, and 1251 without comment as amended. House Bills 1073, 1131, 1136, 1142, 1157, and 1222.
Memorandum report from the House and Senate committees on delayed bills.
Memorandum report from the House and Senate committees on delayed bills pursuant to Joint Rule 23C. The House and Senate committees on delayed bills acting jointly extend the following deadlines. The Monday, March 23rd deadline, the 76th legislative day for introduction of the long appropriation bill in the Senate is extended until Monday, March 30th, 2015, the 83rd legislative day. The Friday, March 27th deadline, the 80th legislative day for passage of the long appropriation bill in the Senate is extended until Monday, April 6, 2015, the 90th legislative day. The Friday, April 3rd deadline, the 87th legislative day for passage of the long appropriation bill in the House is extended until Monday, April 13, 2015, the 97th legislative day. The Friday, April 10 deadline, the 94th legislative day for adoption of the Conference Committee report on the long appropriations bill is extended until Friday, April 17, 2015, the 101st legislative day. This memorandum shall be printed in the Journal of each House as is required by said Joint Rule 23C. Signed, Senators Cadman, President of the Senate, Senator Sheffield, Senate Majority Leader, Senator Carroll, Senate Minority Leader, Representative Hollinghorst, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Representative Duran, House Majority Leader, and Representative Del Grosso, House Minority Leader.
Message from the House again.
March 17, 2015, Mr. President, the House has postponed indefinitely Senate Bills 64, 74, and 93. The bills are returned herewith.
Announcements. Majority Leader Sheffield.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, just a reminder, this will be in your calendar, but give you a heads up that the Conference Committee on Senate Bill 161 will be held tomorrow, March 18th at 1:30 p.m. in the JBC Committee Room. We will also be recessing today as there are bills to read over the desk. So absent any other announcements, Madam President, move that the Senate recess to 2 p.m. today.
Do I ask if there's any objection? Do I ask if there's any objection or just do it? All those in favor of the Senate recessing until 2 p.m., please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The Senate will recess till 2 p.m.